Hey, Mitch.
Hey, Ed.
Hey, I am super excited. Zack Snyder's Justice League is finally here.
Oh, I'm super excited too.
Oh, because we're going to review it in a spoiler-filled review. It's going to be awesome.
No, I can finally get rid of this digitally enhanced Joss Whedon contractually obligated upper lip.
Oh, I can do that for you. Look. Phew. Hi, this is Ed Dollister.
And this is Mitch Halleck.
And welcome to another episode of Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure. If this is the first time you're watching us, thanks for stopping by. We've got plenty of episodes that you can watch about Superman. We've got Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We've got classic collectibles, classic TV, and a lot more. Hey, Mitch, if the viewers are interested, how can they subscribe or find out more?
It's simple, Ed. Just they got to hit the little subscribe button and the notification button and even hit the like button, and they'll know when we do a new excellent adventure, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, we certainly do. And we certainly appreciate all your comments as well. We read all of those and reply to all of them. So thank you
We
very
do,
much.
even the nasty ones.
That's right. Luckily, there haven't been too many, which is kind of nice, given that it's the internet. So that's kind of good. I'm glad that you dig the show. One thing that we're going to be talking about today, and I've been looking forward to this ever since, well, probably somewhere late in 2017, is Zack Snyder's Justice League. So we're going to have it's going to be pretty much spoiler-filled review. We're not going to go as long as the Snyder cut.
We could, but
absolutely. There's a lot to talk about, but we're going to give our thoughts on this, what I think is a pretty magnificent piece of cinema. So I suppose if we want to go just a little bit of background, I'm sure everyone who's watching this knows how the Zack Snyder cut, came to be. But essentially, back with Man of Steel, Zack Snyder, he's often called a visionary director. He knows how to frame a piece of film, that's for sure. He was brought on to do Man of Steel. That was his take on the DC universe. It was, reasonably well received. Did reasonably well as well. I really enjoyed it as a different take on Superman. I suppose it was bringing Superman into the real world a little bit more than the Richard Donner Supermans or Superman Returns with Brandon Routh. We went on then after that to see Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice, which was poorly received. Unfortunately, I personally really quite liked it, but that's just me. It made a lot of money, but critically it was panned. They then released the Batman versus Superman Ultimate Edition, which is basically a director's cut, which added maybe 30 to 40 minutes to the story. It made Clark Kent a actual investigative reporter. It made the world's greatest detective, Batman, detect. And it added a lot to the story. And I think that's the definitive version. If you haven't watched that, watch that version. And they've just released, I know on HBO Max, and I think they're releasing a 4K version of a newly enhanced Batman versus Superman in that new aspect ratio that it's not 4:3, but it's sort of Academy ratio that we'll talk about a little bit later on. So that was a lot more better received than the film release. Then 2017, Justice League, a film that I was super excited for, brought together wonderful characters. We already saw Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman in Batman versus Superman. We have Ben Affleck's Batman, obviously Henry Cavill's Superman, Ray Fisher playing Cyborg,
Jason
Momoa as Aquaman, and Ezra Miller as the Flash, amongst everyone else. And sadly, during the making of that film, Zack Snyder's family suffered a personal tragedy, at which point he stepped away from the film. They brought in Joss Whedon, who at that point, not now, but at that point was, still riding high with, Avengers, maybe Age of Ultron, but, that wasn't as successful, certainly critically. from Buffy and Firefly and
Mhm,
all those things.
mhm.
And he was brought in. Uh, Zack Snyder had filmed probably 75% of. Oh, in fact, he probably filmed most of Justice League.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot more than that. Yeah.
And I know that Joss Whedon came in, script changes,
Hmm.
reshooting footage that had already been filmed. So there's really only 25% of Zack Snyder's film in Justice League.
Hmm.
It was underperformed at the box office. I won't call it a flop because it was still a $650 million movie,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I suppose compared to Avengers, and everyone always makes those comparisons. It was so it wasn't Zack Snyder's true vision, and characters. While I enjoyed it for what it was, the characters didn't ring true to their previous encounters. So from that, almost from day one, there was a hashtag, release the Snyder Cut, and this mythical Snyder Cut, and basically this fan base rose up to demand,
Hmm.
we must see this Snyder Cut. It is out there. And then Zack Snyder would tease a few little, he's a wonderful photographer, a shot
Hmm.
from his version and this and this and this. And many critics said, it's never going to be released. There's no
Hmm.
Snyder Cut. It's never going to be
Hmm.
released. Well, we know obviously it has been released just on HBO Max, and we are here to talk about it. Mitch, just out of interest, did you see Justice League when it originally came out in 2017?
Not only did I see Justice League when it first came out, I happened to see it with Mr. Jerry Ordway, my friend who was also a famous DC comic book
Mhm.
artist and writer who worked on The Death of Superman, Superman Returns, the comic books. And so he's intimate with these characters and he knows the story because the guy was basically there working on the books that they based these films on later on. Jerry had worked on a couple of the key stories that are in these movies, especially the Superman ones. He had gone to the premiere of Batman versus Superman in New York, and he met the cast and
Mhm.
Henry Cavill and Jesse Eisenberg and such. And when this film opened up, the 2017 Justice League, we actually were in New York at a convention and we met the entire cast except Ben Affleck.
Yep.
And Jerry drew some great pictures of Gal Gadot and he drew Henry Cavill and we got to meet the actors and Jerry gave them the artwork and they were very excited to see it, especially Henry Cavill. He knew who Jerry Ordway was because he read all his books growing up. That was kind of fun. He's like, "You're Jerry Ordway," and he was like literally shaking. I'm like, "This is weird." But the thing of it is, of all the folks we met, Ray Fisher was one of the nicest guys, and I deal with actors all the time with my conventions and such, but one of the most down to earth, natural, normal guys in the world. And Jerry and I were at our table at the convention, and Ray Fisher was just kind of walking around because he's pretty fairly unknown because he's in the prosthetics with the cyborg mask and such. So no one really recognized him. The movie had just come out, and he was walking around. He came up to our table, and we talked to him for a while, and we started getting hints that there was more to it. And
Yep.
before the release, the Snyder Cut became a popular thing. This is literally, we met them on December 5th, and the movie had opened like the week before at Thanksgiving time, like late November. Before that, we were talking to Ray Fisher, and he was hinting at these fantastic storylines that weren't in the finished cut. He was like, "Oh, there were scenes with me playing football," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then Jason Momoa would come by, and Ezra Miller came by, and we were talking to all these, and they were all talking about these scenes that, unfortunately, because of time, and I'll even give you some of the corporate, drama behind the scenes too, why this movie was pushed out in 2017. And they were like, "Yeah, there was so much more that we had worked on
Mhm.
that unfortunately didn't make the finished product." What was going on behind the scenes at the time is corporate espionage. DC Comics, which is part of Warner Brothers, they were being sold off Warner Brothers, and AT&T was looking to purchase that, and it was towards the end of the year. And when it comes to stocks and the stock market and profit sharing and all that, when you're trying to sell your company, you want to make it look as successful as possible. Like,
Mhm.
look at all these profits, look how big we are, look at all the great value we have. And that played a key role in the release of the Justice League movie in 2017 because Warner's wanted to make it look like they had a great catalog of successful films and properties. They knew the Justice League movie was kind of in trouble. I mean, like you mentioned, Zack Snyder had to leave for personal reasons,
Mhm.
but his initial plan for that movie was for two movies. It was never meant to be a one big
Yep.
movie, but they didn't have time for that. And that's why there's so much extra footage.
Mm.
And then we'll talk about that. He was planning on making two films to split it down the middle. They threw that idea out. They got Joss Whedon. They said, look, here's your time frame. He started at like May, and they go, our release date is in November. Get to work. And this guy had to go and film like I think 30 days. They got the actors back and they reshot stuff and they took the effects and they cobbled it together. And that product that you saw, that even though you liked and it was pretty fun, was not what
Mm.
anybody ever imagined, because it was really a rush job to get it out by the end of the fiscal year.
Yep.
So it would be in Q4, and it made money, 600 million, like you said. So in the books, it looks great. The bean counters, the investors, they were like, "Oh, okay, this is good." But artistically, it was not the product that Zack Snyder would put his name on it, or
No.
even Joss Whedon in a way could admit. It is what it is. They got a job done. They got it out there. It met the date, and the rest is now history. And now we have this new movie where we got to see an opportunity where the original mastermind, the original creator, the artist, got to go back with $70 million and finish the movie that he wanted to make all those years ago. And
Mm.
that's what we have today.
So it's amazing that this could happen. That the fans could basically instigate this. So it's a miracle that we're getting to see it. It's a miracle,
Yeah,
maybe not a miracle, but it's amazing that it is. You know, I find such an amazing experience. Okay, sitting down watching this, it is an epic experience. It
it is.
clocks in.
Yeah.
It's the longest superhero movie ever, beating
Yeah.
one. I think one of the Avengers goes for about 3 hours. I can't
Yeah.
remember which
Endgame
one.
was 3 hours long. Yeah.
So this blows it away. It's
Mm.
broken up into chapters,
Mhm.
essentially like you're reading a comic book. Like a
Yeah.
6 or 7 part comic book comic.
Yep. Issues.
And
Yeah.
for me, I suppose the one thing I was a little worried going in, not because
Mm.
I didn't think I'd enjoy it, but it reminded me of the Superman 2 debacle with
Oh,
Richard
the
Donner.
Donner cut. Yeah.
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 So because I was thinking I grew up with Superman 2 as it was. I
Mhm.
had no idea about any of the controversy that was going on behind the scenes
Yeah. Yeah.
as a 10-year-old kid. I love
We
that.
didn't have the internet.
I
We wouldn't
know.
know that stuff.
I
Yeah.
love that version of that movie. And so when I watched the Donner cut, I'm sort of going, "Oh, I think I prefer the original, you
I
know?
kind of do too. Yeah. There's too much magic in the Donner cut. I'm like, well, I don't really like
It just
that. So
didn't, so I was worried, because I love Zack Snyder's work and I know
yeah.
he's not everyone's cup of tea.
Mm.
But when you're going into a Zack Snyder movie, you know what you're getting, I think,
Yeah.
to a certain
Yeah.
degree. So um I was ready, sat down, and pretty much I did not notice 4 hours go by. We had I the pace, the
Mm.
storytelling for me,
Mhm.
and the main thing is I don't understand how could Joss Whedon look at that foot. Now I'm sure it wasn't obviously graded, or there weren't all those special effects, because I know that while Zack Snyder only filmed maybe 2 to 4 minutes of new footage for this film, they had to
Mm.
do something like, it was something ridiculous, like 3,000 visual effects to
Mhm.
finish it. I suppose $70 million buys you a lot of visual effects.
Yeah. It does.
But
Yeah.
how could Joss Whedon look at that stuff and go, "Yep, no, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Aquaman sit on the lasso, or the Flash
Yeah.
fall
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Wonder Woman, because that's funny." Or let's get rid of all of Cyborg's backstory.
Mm.
Um,
Well, like I said, that comes into play when you got the corporate folks, when you got the
yeah,
suits and ties involved in, because they're looking at it going, hey, we want mass appeal. We want like an Avengers, because there's definitely a tone between the Marvel series and DC. And again, they don't have to be the same. It's like I
mm,
told somebody that said, oh, this blew Avengers Endgame out of the water. I said, listen, there's baseball and there's football. They're both sports. They're both with teams. One's played with this type of ball and one's
yeah,
played with that. They're not the same thing. Just because Marvel's got superheroes and DC, DC tends to be stories that have like godlike beings. Superman's like a god.
Yep.
Wonder Woman is a goddess. They're way above us. Only Batman is your entry point as a human, non-powered individual. Marvel basically has these schleppy people. They're always like these average people that somehow get bestowed with these amazing powers and
Yes.
abilities, and they have to figure out how to do it. It's not the same thing. Marvel takes place in New York. DCs are in fantasy lands like Gotham, Metropolis,
Metropolis. Yeah.
Central City.
Yep.
They're not realistic things, so that you really shouldn't go in there. But Whedon, who had success with the first Avengers and kind of with Avengers 2, they brought him in to make this movie, which was Zack Snyder, like you said, always a realistic, more adult,
Yep.
more dour, different type of palette, very
Yes.
gray and muted colors. They told him, oh no, you go in there and you marvelize this thing literally. And that's why you get these bad puns, these jokey scenes with Batman, and even Superman's costume is not the black and white that you have on there now.
Yep.
If you look at the Whedon one, they went in there and they even changed the Man of Steel look to a really bright blue with a bright red. They try to capture that Christopher Reeve look,
Yes.
because that was more of an upbeat type thing. Everything about the Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder. Josh Whedon to me is almost like on like happy pills.
Yep.
Okay. They're like, hey, we're all great. We're all happy. This is that. And Josh Whedon's like, I'm trying to, not Josh Whedon, Zack Snyder's trying to tell a story.
Yes.
He's like, this is a gritty, this is a true, not true story, but more realistic type of
Yeah.
approach to
With real
epic.
real
Yeah.
consequences, and I think
Real
with
consequences.
yep.
Yeah.
And I
And the other
think with
one is like
yep.
Disney World. It's
Yeah.
like fluff. It's like Mickey Mouse.
That red sky, that Russian family that live by
Oh,
themselves,
yeah.
which
Which I'm glad they were
again, I
going.
think they said this in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode, is that that reminded me of what is it, Sokovia or whatever.
Oh, Sokovia. That's the
With
place.
that,
Yeah.
and folk, things like things like that. It's just crazy when you
Yeah. Like I said, you can't. I can't take a baseball team and throw them on a football field and say, "Here, you guys are both athletes. Go ahead and do it." It's
Yep.
different styles. Different styles. That's all it comes down to. And it's
Yes.
like they don't always work well.
No.
And it did. And now, if you had never seen, and I told this to my friend Jerry on the way home, if you never saw the Joss Whedon 2017 movie and only saw this, you'd be okay. You wouldn't have a point of reference. So it does kind of drive you crazy to sit there and go, well, this was different and that was different and this was different, because it literally is like 90% a whole new movie. It's
Oh my
this
gosh.
4 hours. I was worried that it was just going to be longer takes of scenes that we already saw, because in the beginning you see Bruce Wayne riding a horse. I go, oh God, please tell me it's not going to be 4 hours of the same footage except from a different angle, and they just edit it like, oh,
Now,
you're
did you
Arthur Curry.
did you
Yeah.
forget Han Solo on Hoth vibe with
Yeah. When he showed up, as soon as he takes that hood off, that's your Harrison Ford.
I
reveal.
thought he was going to make it, wasn't going to make it to the first marker. I thought it was
The
pretty,
first
that was
marker.
pretty cool. There was a few little Star Wars, let me look on it with my own eyes. I thought.
Oh yeah, and there was another line of dialogue that I can't remember right now, but I said, hey, that's a Star Wars line or something
Yeah.
like that. Hey, I saw it. Unfortunately, I was one of the few people in the whole world to see it in a movie theater.
Yep.
Because everyone else is watching this on TV. My friend Keith rented a movie theater, and he had 20 of his friends, because we did the socially distant COVID responsibility. We sat away from each other, but we were in a real live movie theater, and they projected it onto the screen, and we sat there from 5:30 to 9:30 at night.
Yep.
4 hours and 2 minutes. We had an intermission as well. It was fantastic, because it's like a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I know TVs are great and everyone's got 4K and 100-inch screens, but there's something about being in a crowd of strangers in a movie theater, and it's dark and there's the smell of the popcorn and the soda and all that, that it really, it felt epic, and we couldn't leave. There's an atmosphere that happens in a theater.
Yeah.
At home, you could stop, you can walk away.
Well, we did that. I watched it twice,
Yeah.
Thursday and Friday night, and we did. I mean, it is built, I think, with that, because, as I said, there are chapters, and you go,
Yeah.
oh, okay, let's just pause it. We'll get a coffee, get some popcorn, and things like that.
Right.
But it didn't feel like. But I think I said to you that it doesn't feel like it. This 4 hours.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel
went
like
by.
4 hours, because you're going, oh my God, what's going to happen next? Or let's find a little bit more about this character and this character. And I felt like the stakes
Yeah,
You feel
we're
like
a
the
little
stakes
higher.
were really, really high.
Oh yeah, especially in the end battle too. Like you actually were caught up in it. Like there was tension in it,
Yes.
even though I already know how it ends.
Yeah.
But as opposed to the Joss Whedon one, which was kind of like a, I don't know what was going on. Oh, is this guy still bothering you? Hey, it was like it was on like a
Yes.
musical. You know what I mean? It was
Yep.
so lighthearted. It's like you could have
Yep.
put like a 40s jazz sound behind it. It would have been like, come on, Routine 32, and
Oh
they're like
yes.
punching each other. You
Yeah.
know, like a slapstick kind of vaudeville movie. But I was gonna say too, the ratio at home, it's 4:3. They call it. It's more of a square
It's sort of
image.
IMAX.
It's kind of IMAXy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that we saw that in the theater, and that's at home. I would come in, and I see the sidebars. I'm like, why is it like that? So that's an odd thing. You know,
Well,
it takes
I
you
know
off,
I
but
did
you
read
ignore
that
it.
Zack Snyder said, it's he wanted the format. One thing is it relates to also, like there's a theme of, heroes rising up and rising to the
Yeah,
challenge, and
yeah,
that's what it
yeah,
is. It's
yeah,
going up, and I've got to say, where I was streaming it, I've got a 65-inch HD, a 4K TV,
yeah.
and it didn't feel the tops and the bottoms. I think it's just the way it
Right.
streams, but I don't think you notice it. It's interesting.
Mm,
It's a way. Maybe it's more because it's more like a comic book page like that.
maybe. Yeah, yeah.
Um I don't know. It didn't really bother me with that. I
No,
just go,
no.
okay, that's a stylistic choice, and this is the director's vision. So
Well,
I'm in.
I was gonna say real quick. You mentioned the 6 chapters. Here's what I was told, and again, I don't know how much is real anymore when it comes to the internet. Marvel is on the Disney Plus, and Disney Plus has these new series: WandaVision,
Yes.
Falcon and Winter Soldier. They had the Star Wars Mandalorian. They're broken up into chapters,
Yeah.
like the Mandalorian, like chapter 6, chapter 3. The return of the Boba Fett. This movie, because they're trying to sell this HBO Now or
HBO
HBO
Max.
Max. Yeah, that's what it is here in the States. They're trying to sell that service, and they wanted to have a weekly show. I was told that originally they wanted to break this up into 6 episodes. So you'd have to come back just like you do for Mandalorian and Winter Soldier. Don't drop it all at once.
Yep.
Just do it every Friday, and then chapter 7, chapter 2, chapter 3, that type of thing to get people wanting more. But along the way, Snyder said, "Oh no, I want to put it all together and just do one big 4-hour movie." So there is some weird, backstory. I don't know what's the truth at the moment, but I could
So what
see it
I read
being 6 chapters.
Yeah, I read originally they were going to break it into chapters like that, but Zack Snyder said contractually, because
Yeah.
then does that become a television show, not
Oh,
that? And because of it was too much of a legal, like, well, they
I see.
signed
I
up for
see.
a movie, not a episodic television show.
Television.
So
Yeah.
they decided let's just keep it in
Okay.
the one with
Yeah, there was definitely
publicly.
something about that. Okay. Somebody's doing
And
something
I
there.
suppose, performance wise, I think you get, it's amazing what, you know, a little bit more character development.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what I like is you get to see all the characters, all members of the Justice League shine. They have their
Mhm.
one moment that the terrorist attack with the school kids,
Oh, with Wonder
Wonder
Woman? Yeah.
Woman, has a whole new vibe to it, and
Oh, yeah, it does.
oh my gosh, she
It,
throws
yeah.
people against. That
Oh,
is
yeah.
fantastic.
The one guy looked like a rag doll when she just
Yeah,
like flung him against the wall, and she does all this. And you know what? It's a rated R movie. I mean, there's only a couple F bombs in it, and
yeah,
really like fantasy violence. So I was
yeah.
like, I don't know why this is rated R, but I could tell you just that scene in particular, there's a tension in that, and it's very cold blooded because you see the terrorist guy get a machine gun, and
Yes,
basically there's a bunch of school children.
yeah, of
Trust me, from where I live, that's not something we joke about
course.
where I live. You were like, oh my God, I already know it's going to end well. I know Wonder Woman's going to save the
Yeah,
day, but it was really kind of frightening to see him just pull back on the bolt and about to do the semi-automatic and switches to automatic machine gun, and she saves it. But you're like, oh my God, this is like terrifying here. And that type of mental imagery and Wonder Woman coming through really affects the whole film there. So right off the bat,
Oh, look,
it's
you've got.
it's got a different vibe,
I
and
know.
that's the
Yeah,
first 10 minutes, I think,
yes.
20 minutes.
You've got obviously the Amazonians where they're trying to
Yeah.
rescue the
Other
oh,
box. Yeah.
get the mother box away from Steppenwolf.
Yep.
That whole sequence again, even what I just love, even all the Amazons just with their arrow, the you know
The
that they're not,
Warriors. Yeah.
yeah, you know they're
Yeah.
not scared, but they've got trepidation about that
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
can see it in their body language, in their eyes.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They sacrifice themselves. That always get. I'm like, wow, they're like, "Oh, seal this off. We're not leaving this
Yep,
place." And I was like, whoa, I hope they get paid well for that. And then the whole destruction of
I
the
know.
thing, and then
Yes,
it went on because a lot of it, like I mentioned, I was worried that I'm like, oh, this is not just going to be extended views of stuff I've already seen. I want to see something else. I mean, we're talking 4 hours as opposed to two. I want to see new material. But then there was that chase, and even that, like you said, when they're smashing
oh,
the
he's
pillars
throwing
that are holding the
horses.
doors open, it's like I know what's going to happen,
Yeah,
but it just seemed a lot. I did the in the first movie. I haven't seen the first movie in years. Did the whole building collapse into the ocean like
I
that,
don't
or was that
remember
they
that.
added that? I don't remember that
I
at
don't
all.
remember
No.
that either. But
Yeah.
one thing that is obvious is the character development of Steppenwolf. Not only have
Oh
they
yeah. Yeah.
they've changed his look.
Oh yeah.
He looks amazing. He's such an
I
imposing character.
I said that to Ordway. I always thought, and well, they did in the first movie. I thought that the horns were part of his helmet
Yeah.
in the first movie, and then there's a scene here where the helmet's off, and those are actually his head. He kind of looked
Yes.
like a hammerhead shark, like from
Yes.
Pirates of the
Yes. Yeah.
Caribbean. That's what it
Absolutely. Yes.
reminded me of, like Davy Jones's crew. There was a
Yeah.
guy that had that hammerhead look to him, you know. So,
But
but
I
he was
thought
much
he was.
better CGI. Yeah,
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And Kieran Hines did the voice. I felt like again, it's not just I'm just taking over the world.
yeah.
You know, okay, fine. But
Well,
his
he even had a
motivation
better
to do so.
motivation.
Yeah,
Yeah, because in the first movie, he's just sent there like a lackey to go find these mother boxes. You're like, okay, I guess, he's just like a big dog. It's not very frightening. But this movie, there's these subtle layers to it where it's like, well, the mother boxes are part of a bigger story, and there's an
that's right. And the
anti-life equation.
anti-life
They got into
equation.
total nerd comic book stuff. I'm sitting there going, I wonder if Ed knows all this backstory about Jack Kirby's Fourth World and New Gods, because I knew what was happening. And
I knew a
Ordway, of
little bit
course,
of
did.
it. I knew a little bit
Yeah,
of it, and I noticed
yeah.
in the end credits. It's good to see. They
Jack
thank
Kirby. Yeah,
yes with
yeah.
his with that. Actually, what I was interested in
What?
only the opening credits.
Yeah,
Sorry, we're all over the shop. Oh, the opening credits, it says
they credit
Sup-
Superman,
Superman created by Joe
Siegel and Schuster. Yeah,
yes, but they don't
but they
have
didn't do
Bob
it for the
Kane
other
and
people.
Bill Finger for all that. They have that at the end. I wonder why
They
that.
had that. I caught that too. I said that to Ordway, and he said it's more of a contractual thing with the Superman estate,
Okay,
where they're like, if he's going to be in the movie, it has to be up front. Because I said that too. I'm like, why didn't they do the other ones? Because they did it in Batman versus Superman.
I thought they
They
did. I
they show
suppose.
Marston and then they show Finger and
Yeah,
Kane, but they didn't do it this time. So I don't know. Maybe Zack Snyder has a different deal
yeah,
with
could
that.
be.
There's a lot of lawyers involved in these things, more than you realize
I
when it
can
comes
only
to
imagine.
credits.
I can only
Oh
imagine.
yeah, there's like certain people to get how many punches they could throw in the
Yes.
movie, who gets to hit first. I mean, years ago, this is how crazy it gets. There was a comic book called Superman Meets Spider-Man. They actually counted how many times Superman punched somebody and how many times Spider-Man, and it had to be proportionate. They had to have the equal amount. And they had to be the same size on the cover too. It's
Yes.
like you can't make Spider-Man bigger than Superman. They
Yeah.
have to
Well,
be the same
that's
thing.
for that's for theater posters. I know you can't have. You got to have.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's
The name's got to be a certain point size bigger than the title. Yeah, 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 yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. But
So
anyway, going
yeah.
back to this, they did the one of the best scenes in the movie that I actually got chills on
Yeah.
was when the Green Lantern, they do a flashback to the old war between
Yes.
Darkseid and the forces of man and the Amazonians and the
And they had
Atlanteans.
Ares. They got David
Ares was
Gillis
there, the
back.
gods.
I thought
Yeah,
was
yeah,
pretty
he
cool.
came back. Yeah. But they show real a member of the Green Lantern Corps in the
Yes.
battle. He gets killed. Spoiler alert. But that alone, I was like, oh yeah, the Green Lanterns are there, because that would be great, because we all know the story about that movie getting killed with Ryan Reynolds,
Yeah.
and they never went back to it. But that's always been one of my favorite comic book characters. And I heard that Zack Snyder did film epilogue. I'm going to jump ahead real quick. There was a little bit with the Green Lantern Corps, but HBO told them don't do that. And if you do that, we're not pushing this out, because HBO's got their own Green Lantern TV series in the
Yes.
works right now, so that's why he wasn't put in there.
So all right. So what I heard
Yeah.
is similar to that. Is that at the very end, uh, excuse me, at the very end, you see Martian Manhunter.
Yep.
Spoiler. That was supposed to be John Stewart. Um,
Oh,
as the
okay.
Green Lantern, but they I don't know if it was HBO or Warner Brothers or one of those,
Yeah, there was something about don't touch the Green
said,
Lanterns. Yeah.
don't we want to debut that because we're coming up with that. So Zack Snyder said, well, how about Martian Manhunter? And they said, yes.
Did you real quick? Did you notice how thin Ben Affleck looked then? Because they just shot that like a couple weeks ago. Because it's been years since the
No, I
filming.
did. Oh, I'm gonna have
Oh
to
no!
watch.
If you
Oh,
watch
I'm
it,
gonna have to
he's
watch it
about
again.
20 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
At the very end when he meets the Martian Manhunter. Yeah, that's
Yes.
newer footage. And did you also know that when they show, I don't know, spoiler, whatever, but when they show that apocalyptic future with Batman and the Joker
Oh,
and
yes.
all the
We'll talk a
crew.
bit more about that, but yeah,
Yeah, but did you know that was all filmed individually and he kind of just stitched that
I
together like the
know.
actors green screen? They were
I
doing stuff
know.
like we do here, like in their backyard, So
How amazing. You would never know.
no.
You would never
That's
know. But
well, Zack Snyder, he's one of the pioneers when it comes to that because he did the green screen stuff. I think he learned it from Rodriguez,
mhm,
uh, Robert Rodriguez when he did Sin City, what was all green screen, and that was groundbreaking back in
yep,
2001. That was like, oh, what do you mean there's nothing there? Because my friend Carl is actually an actor. He's in that movie,
okay.
Sin City. I kind of got him blacklisted by accident. He was in Austin, Texas, and he writes me a letter and he says, "Hey," and he and I were in theater in school, and he says, "Hey, I'm on a set of a movie with Mickey Rourke, who was his favorite actor." And he goes, "Yeah, but there's no sets. It's all this green screen stuff." He goes, "I play a cop that's chasing after Mickey Rourke's character. I'm in costume, but we're just running up a staircase and nothing else is built." And I stupidly mentioned it on Ain't It Cool News, which was really a newer thing
I
back in the
remember that, yes.
2000. And he got blacklisted and he didn't know for years why he couldn't get any work. And somebody said, "Yeah, you opened your mouth about a Robert Rodriguez movie and you're not allowed to work on these things." He goes, "I never say anything. I don't even have an email." And he's telling me the story on the phone. I'm like, oh my God, that was me. I'm the one that posted it. So sorry about that. But Zack Snyder, he did it with 300,
Yes.
which was a Frank Miller comic book story. He did it with The Watchmen.
Yep.
They're not like George Lucas does it, but they do it more. I don't know. He uses the green screen a little differently than Lucas did. It's not just here's your background of a distant planet. It's more interactive. I mean, the
Yes.
people are there on the set and things like that. And I don't know. Zack Snyder just has a certain style,
He
you
does, and
know. Yeah.
everything, and I do feel like, and I'm not, I look, I'm obviously a DC fan, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
said, I go to the Marvel movies, and they're not my favorite, but I go see them. But I feel like, from a stylistic point, I always feel like Zack Snyder's movies look more like movies. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is, or it's a,
Okay.
the
And the other ones look
cinematography.
like TV shows. Yeah.
Yeah, that I'm not to diss the
No, 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 no,
cinematographers
no,
or
no,
whatever, but I
no.
just feel like, again, you could there's
They're
some,
grittier. They're
yeah,
grittier.
and you could
Yeah.
you could take a screenshot of pretty much any frame in a Zack Snyder movie, put it in a frame, and you go,
Yeah.
that looks like a piece of art, you know.
Yeah.
I just like his visual sensibilities. And I know when, again, he's, they often call him a visionary, but I do.
Yeah.
He's got a
Yeah.
very good,
Yeah, but they
a very
call us
good,
that too,
of
and I don't think
course,
it's
yeah,
the
that's
same
right.
reasons. I
He's
think
got,
it's because we
that
have
sounds,
bad eyesight.
hey,
Yeah.
is that a super? We could be the visionaries. That sounds like a superhero. Do you know?
We could, yeah, like Wanda and the Visionaries.
That's right. That
Wanda
sounds like a
Visionary.
bad '60s band.
Yeah.
Wonder in the yeah, that's right. You know what I also loved is
What?
the change to, as a fan of the CW Grant Gustin Flash with John
Yeah.
Wesley Shipp. In fact, Kelly said for a second when Barry was in prison talking to his dad, she goes,
Yes.
"That's not John West." Oh, because
No.
it
No.
sounded a little bit like him. Um,
No, and I caught another bit too when he was in disguise when he was trying to break into the Kryptonian ship,
yes,
and he had his ID, and it was a fake ID. The name on it was Wesley, and I was like, "Oh, is it Ship Wesley Ship?" That would have been kind of cool, but they didn't
yes,
do that. I was looking for the little Easter eggs too. There's a
yes,
couple in there,
yeah.
If you look, well, there was, of course, Mark McClure, Jimmy
Oh, of
Olsen from
course,
the
Jimmy
original
Olsen.
Superman movies
Yes,
and Supergirl. He's playing Officer Jerry. And I
Jerry.
looked
Yeah.
over at Jerry Ordway. I go, "Is that after you, Jerry?" He's like, "No, I don't think so." But it was nice to see him in the movie because he also had a cameo in this Joss Whedon one
Yes,
as a correctional officer that they write on his face or something with a marker.
that's right.
Yeah, but he was in this too. It's nice to survive. He survived the Snyder cut, and because you noticed it when Amy Adams is it as Lois Lane
Yes,
goes over to the site of the big battle that Superman had,
yes,
and she goes, there's flowers all on the ground. It's like a memorial, and he goes, "Good morning, Miss Lane." And when I heard that voice, the way it was
yeah,
expressed, I go, "Wait a minute, that sounds familiar." And I'm like, "Oh, that's Jimmy," when he would see Margot Kidder, like, "Oh,
yeah,
hello, golly, Miss Lane," and he'd follow her around the office at the
yeah.
Daily Planet. So I was
That
like, that
was
was a kind of cool auditory callback.
that
I
was
just thought,
a nice nod. I
yeah,
really
yeah,
liked the change to Ezra Miller's character. Again,
yeah.
it gave him a really well-rounded. He just wasn't there for the yucks.
Yeah, it wasn't annoying. He was very annoying in the first movie. It's like,
Yes, but I'm going to
okay.
say one thing I really like his interpretation of the character. I have students who speak like who are like that. With the they just get muddled or
Yeah,
a little bit
yeah,
nervous in front of.
yeah.
I think he's really on point with that, and that whole sequence with him and Iris.
Yep, in the car.
I
Yeah.
can't believe they got. Why would you get rid of that? That thing
I don't know. I was
that
like, this is
was
really cool stuff. Yeah.
that was spectacular.
There was a weird thing though. Why is he looking for a job at a kennel? Because he can do all the stuff. He had all this equipment at his lair where he's
I think
obviously
he's trying to
monitoring.
pay for. Obviously doesn't want to steal. He's not a
No, no.
criminal. So like he was explaining that he needs to do multiple jobs to help pay for his tuition. So
Oh, well, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, he did say that. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Maybe that was it. Because I was like, sometimes I'm like, why is this? He should just pal around with Cyborg more. Because Cyborg could just fool around with your bank account.
Oh, that's true.
You got
And
that was a great
okay,
little scene.
yes,
Yeah.
and I liked how they like you got to see how Cyborg visualized what he saw.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
again,
yeah,
what a tortured character with a really interesting arc. And Zack Snyder's called it the heart of the Cyborg,
yeah,
heart of the
yeah,
movie.
yeah,
Again, the sacrifice that his father did. One again, spoilers. Um,
yeah.
with the laser, that effect where
Well,
his head starts to blister, and he just
yeah. Well, that was telegraphed a bit earlier because I
yeah,
was like, "What's going on here?" Because they have this meteorite rock or whatever it was, and he's working on it with his co-scientists or
joy.
whatever, and they're like, "Oh, the inner core of this is one of the hottest things on the earth. That's what my prom date said," or something like that. And you're like, "Why
Yeah,
are they talking about this?" And then later on, Cyrus Stone goes into
yeah,
this chamber and he tags the mother box with this chemical carbon so that they
yeah,
could trace it.
yeah.
And I said, well, he's not the smartest guy in the world because couldn't he get out of that room before the laser went off and vaporized him? I'm like,
Well, I
just
just think it was a
saying, just
symbolic,
saying.
as a sacrifice to show that what he'd do for his son. And I think, the his assistant, I think it's Ray Choi,
He becomes the
the
Atom.
Atom. He's the Atom.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh, that I know. As soon as they mentioned the name in the comics, there was two Adams. There was Ray Palmer, and then
Yeah,
this was the second Adam.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, if well, they're not going to make a
Well,
sequel.
you know what?
We don't know.
I hope because this film has got so much buzz. I'm sure
Yeah.
people are flocking to. Um,
Well, it's hard to because it's on TV. It's not in a theater anywhere. It's hard to gauge it. I mean,
but
you
people
subscribe
look.
to HBO.
I
How much
I
of that money
I
is
had to
because of
I had to
that?
subscribe to. I signed up to. It's on Binge in Australia,
Yeah,
so that's
yeah.
$14 a month. So I've signed up. So I'm sure other people have signed up to
Unless people
watch it.
cancel their subscription after this and they go, wow, they only signed up for the Superman the Justice League. And I guess,
But they'll be able to do that correlation. Go, okay, we got this many subscribe. Okay,
well, they
we got
crashed a server here last night.
really.
Oh yeah, Zack Snyder, not a very friendly message. He put, the effers even screwed this up. Only
Uh,
the effers are amateurs. You got to be kidding me, or something like. Because yeah, the server crashed last night. in the States. I don't know how long it happened, but so much so that Zack Snyder himself went to Twitter to post
Yes.
a not too happy
Yep.
remark about HBO, which is funny because here they're owned by AT&T, which is an internet provider. So
Yeah.
it was like, do you really want to buy AT&T because they can't even take care of their own, network here? So
What did you
it
think
is
of
what it is.
Ben Affleck?
He was better in this movie because he wasn't as jokey. Because they try to, I don't know what they did with Batman in that Joss Whedon movie.
Yeah.
Because he was like, something's broken, something doesn't feel right. He was doing all, and he looked, honestly, the way he was lit and filmed. I know they used the same footage, a lot of it, but he looked really out of shape as Batman. It was more like Fat Man in the first movie. And again, I'm a big person, so I'm not knocking anybody, but he looked like, over here they have the Michelin tire guy.
Yes. Yes.
Every time you saw Batman, I go, I don't think Batman can move very fast, let alone beat up the parademons. But this time, the way he was lit and filmed and he acted, it was much more believable as a real crime fighter or superhero. But the last movie, I'm like, I don't think that guy's going to be chasing anybody unless it's almost closing time at the local restaurant. Hurry up. They're out of biscuits. Give me some bat biscuits real quick. But no, he was much better in this film, and it
I
was much
liked him.
more
I think
believable.
he's my, dare I say it, he might be my favorite Batman, I think.
I always thought he was going to be a good Batman,
Yeah.
and it's again goes back to contracts and behind the scenes drama. He was going to do a solo Batman
Yes.
movie, and
With
Deathstroke
Deathstroke.
was going to be the bad guy. And if you watch this movie, again, spoiler alerts on this episode, he finds out that Batman is Bruce Wayne because Lex Luthor tells him,
Hmm.
and that was going to be a year of torture
Yep.
for Bruce Wayne because he's like, who's this guy? Why does he? How's he know I'm Batman?
Yep.
Because his sequel was going to be this drawn out murder mystery type of thing,
Yep.
but we never saw the movie because Affleck left the project. He was going to direct it,
Yep.
into it. He was going to write it, walked away. He was going to act in it,
Yep.
walked away.
But
And
we
we never
will
got
see,
to see that.
we will see him in Ezra Miller's The Flash.
Yeah, yeah, a
That's good.
Flashpoint. Yeah, yeah.
So
Along with Michael Keaton and
yeah,
maybe even Christian Bale. So who knows?
that would be pretty. That would be pretty amazing if that was the case.
Well, they mentioned the multiverse in this movie, so
Yeah.
they opened the door.
Yes.
They're like, "Oh, by the way," and DC's always famous for this. They have this
Yep.
crisis. They did the TV series too, and it's a,
Yeah.
it's a
Crisis on
famous thing
Infinite
over there.
Earths. Yep.
Multiple Earths. Yeah, there's a Superman on Earth 1 and Earth 2 and Earth 3 and Earth 4 and 55, and
Yep.
you know they talked about that here too. So maybe this was the Zack Snyder parallel universe we saw. Maybe the Whedon one exists and they could meet each other. You know, because that did happen.
Mm.
We saw the Ezra Miller Flash meet
Grant
the Grant
Gustin. That's
Gustin.
right. Yep.
Yeah, for a brief moment, he goes, Flash, that's a good name. So that's where he gets
That
his
was
name
that
from.
was that was wonderfully done. I thought that was
Yeah, yeah,
such a
yeah.
good.
So there's a bigger picture going on in
Yeah.
these Warner Brother comic book movies than you might think. But
And we
what
saw.
did you
Yep.
I was gonna say, what did you think about Alfred? Did you like more of Jeremy
I
Irons? Or?
loved to see more of Alfred because he was hardly in it. And again, we're talking about Star Wars references
Yeah.
when Alfred was fixing the jet and it was catching on fire.
Yes, the smoke. I was thinking
I
of
thought of
Chewbacca.
Han and Chewie. I thought,
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah, I thought that too when the smoke's spilling. I was like, turn it off, turn it off.
yeah, I thought that's great.
Yeah.
I really liked Alfred in
Did you like when he
his
showed
iteration.
Wonder Woman how to make tea?
Yes.
He
Yeah.
was getting annoyed. It's like you're gonna boil the leaves or whatever.
Yeah.
You're gonna cook them, scald them. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Jeremy Irons is always great on camera, and I think he
You
was.
would think, yeah.
Yeah. Again, why wouldn't you have more of him? Same with J.K. Simmons. Is
Yeah, I was hoping to see more of.
uh,
He's such a good actor, character actor as Commissioner Gordon. I'm like, that's it, like
but
2 minutes.
again, he would have gone on to the next
Oh,
the Batman.
in the Batman movie, it would have been great.
Yep.
Yeah,
But I liked his no nonsense sort of, like just sort of.
Yeah, they give him a bunch of messages. He just throws in the
Yeah.
garbage. I thought that was
The attitude I thought was really good, and again, didn't feel like just stepping in for a small part. You felt like
no.
this guy had backstory and had lived in that. Obviously, he's been with Batman, for 20 years or whatever since.
Yeah, exactly.
Was great.
What did you think of I know you're a big music fan like I am too. What did you think of the score? not having Danny Elfman do it and not having the John Williams hinted at,
So
because that's it. You can't beat that John Williams thing. I
no,
don't care
look,
what you say. That's always going to be the greatest Superman theme ever. But
you're absolutely right. However, this is not, and when I know that they forced it in when Danny Elfman did
oh yeah,
because
definitely
basically it's Junkie XL who did the score. What's his name? Thomas.
Hans Zimmer.
No. The guy did this score. Junkie XL was
Oh,
doing
okay.
Justice League. He got fired when Zack left. They brought in
Danny Elfman.
Danny Elfman to do it, who brought in, his own theme of Batman, and then he
Yep.
brought in very briefly Superman theme. But for me, I felt like he brought it in at the wrong point.
Yeah.
Superman's supposed to be a triumphant,
Yeah,
hopeful
they brought it
character,
back when
and he
he
brought
did
it
the
in when he was
resurrection
the evil
scene. Yeah, when he
Batman.
was fighting. Yeah, I was like, why are you doing it?
So
He's a bad guy right now.
so
Yeah.
that doesn't work. It didn't work for that. So for this score, I thought, which was quite incredible, 4 hour. Apparently, only had like 3 months to
Oh
write
wow,
for 4 hours of music.
it's a lot of work.
It's a
Yeah.
lot. And I really liked the score. It was epic. I liked
Mhm.
I liked how it brought in the Wonder Woman theme, but a sort of a variation of it.
And they had the Man of Steel film.
And you know what?
Theme.
I mean, it's look, as we said, John Williams' score
Yeah,
is the be all end all.
absolutely. Yeah,
But
you can't. Yeah,
that Superman, all you need to hear is that dun dun
yeah, yeah. Boom,
dun, and
boom.
that's
Yeah,
and that gives you a bit of goosebumps. I think like when they were taking
did they have the
Prime's
coffin?
body and putting it into
Yeah,
the
yeah,
that
yep.
that's all you need, and I think it works for this. I don't think having maybe the Superman the movie Christopher Reeves theme in
Yeah,
would
yeah,
would
yeah.
work.
You
I'm
know, because
sure
you're
someone's
right,
going
because
to do it, but
it takes you out of it. It
yeah,
really does, because you're like, oh yeah, that's Christopher. It would be like watching. I don't know. I think when they brought the Mandalorian to do a Star Wars thing, they had Luke Skywalker on there.
yeah,
And people were like, well, why didn't they play the Luke when he
yeah,
was coming at the end of the man? Because if they did that, one, it would have given it away right away. As soon as you would heard Luke's theme when he burst into the ship at the end
yeah,
and he was fighting the dark troopers, you would say, oh, there's Luke. So you don't want to, show your hand before he does the reveal. That's
yes,
why. And the same thing with this. If you had the, everybody knows it,
yep,
you would have kept thinking Christopher Reeve, because that's his song. He owns that. Okay. I
yes,
know it's Superman. Even Brandon Ralph, when they played the love theme to
yes,
Lois and when they're flying through in
yep,
the Superman return, you think of Margot Kidder and Christopher Reeve. No offense to those two actors, but it's like you didn't earn that. That's
yep,
not you. That's somebody else's property. You don't want to do that. And the same thing with this. It was good that they used the Man of Steel themes,
yes,
and and they even had Kevin Costner's voiceover and
and Russell Crowe, I
Russell
thought, yeah,
Crowe when I was like, oh, that was kind of a cool callback there.
yep,
When he's walking through his wardrobe to find out which outfit he should wear. Again, I know we're being serious, but if I had a chance, I would have done a Liberace version of it in the background, because you had like a big mecha armored one,
yeah,
and then you had the blue and the red, and then he looks over. But for a brief moment, if there was a sequence and some feathers going on, like a
yeah,
Elton
or
John look,
maybe the Underoos version,
maybe, yeah, maybe we get a little darker in there, a little deeper. You never know.
I don't know,
I'm
but
just saying.
I'd love a
That
walk-in
would be the
wardrobe.
Mad Magazine version.
It would
Okay.
be,
If they do a Mad
yeah,
Magazine, he'll be like, oh, maybe I'll wear that one tonight.
yeah.
I don't know.
So
So,
I
and
but
yeah, we did real quick about what did you think of the Batman gloves?
I
Because
thought
now it made sense. It was like,
yes,
oh, he has technology
yep,
that helps him survive. Because you're like, look, honestly, Superman would kill Batman in a second
yes,
because he's just a guy.
yes,
But by having the gauntlets have some type of
yep,
metallic, like Wakanda vibranium,
yep,
it saved him a little bit there.
yeah.
Why
I
did he
thought
make the whole? Why did he make the whole suit out of it? Is what I want to know. It's like,
because
okay,
it doesn't. It's not very flexible.
okay,
That's
yeah,
why.
maybe just a cod piece a little bit so you don't get your things burned off there.
Yeah, it could be a fair call, fair call. But
I'm just,
again, that
and here's the
scene is
other thing.
yeah,
Wait, one other thing. They bring back Superman just like they did in the Joss Whedon. In fact, they even lifted that footage where they get the body and the soup there, and they bring him back with the spark of life from
yep,
the mother box. Somebody said this to me, and it makes sense. If Batman's so worried that the moment they activate the mother box, it's going to send a signal out to Steppenwolf, and they'll know where he is. and they don't know if Superman is going to be a good Superman or bad Superman or what's going to happen. Why didn't he bring some of those kryptonite grenades or maybe the piece of kryptonite that he used to kill him just in case things go south?
I
Just
think he's
saying.
run out of all that.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Well,
All he
well,
had left was on the oh now sorry again, you know what I forgot? What a
what?
great segue from, Batman versus Superman.
Oh,
And
that death
that
scream that went around the
traveling
world, even
throughout.
underwater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because did you notice that they changed Aquaman, Atlantis a little bit in that they
Yeah.
couldn't speak
Yeah. It wasn't.
underwater.
Yeah.
They did sort of like this like flipper noises to talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mira, I think, had a different accent. I'm sure she had a different accent
She,
in
I mean, as much as we don't like Amber Heard off screen
yeah.
because what she did to Johnny Depp, uh, let me just tell you, she's much better portrayed acting wise, look wise in this movie. She didn't have that weird purple fright wig going on,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
the weird tiara and the everything about it. And even speaking of weird wigs, even my man Willem Dafoe, he
Yes.
didn't have the man bun. He
Yeah,
had the
that's
more
true.
crazy rock star Howard Stern kind of look
Yeah.
too, and as Volko. All that's much better
Yeah.
in this movie than
I thought
I
the
mean
effects
Aquaman.
too,
Yeah,
the underwater effects and the
yeah, it
swimming
was
effects.
dark. You're underwater. It shouldn't be bright as day because hell, you're under the ocean. There's no sun under the ocean. But that's another story.
Except
I
for,
mean,
Jason Momoa's chest, which lights up a room. I think that's
hey,
pretty.
Jason Momoa. Again, we talked about some things you said it's well done, but there are some sequences like the slow motion Jason Momoa walking into the water, throwing the empty drinking bottle into the. I say, hey, buddy, you're all worried about protecting the oceans. Go pick that up. Some kid's gonna step on that bottle and cut his foot open. You jerk. And put a shirt on, why don't you? And if you're swimming in the water, I'm going to tell you, those jeans cannot breathe that well in that water. You're going to get a nasty rash down there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I'm saying.
There's
2
lots of
cents.
plankton he can
2
rub
cents.
in. It'll be fine.
But if I told Sharon, my wife, that they should have cut more of the Jason Momoa slow motion, no shirt on, she'd be like, "What are you insane? They need more of that in there. Give me another hour of that."
That's right. Just an hour of Henry Cavill, floating around like that would be. Kelly
Yeah,
goes, look
he's
at his
jacked
back.
in
And
this
you
movie.
see his,
Oh
oh
my
my
God,
God.
his back when he's walking in the fields there, it's like, not on, man. Jesus Lord, this guy is like a brick house. This guy,
Yeah.
little tiny waist, big time.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Just like us under here. So,
Everybody will get excited. You
yeah,
got to
I
keep
know.
it down. But
Gotta
hey,
keep those ratings
whatever we
up.
got to take to get the numbers up on this show, it
That's
is what
right.
it is.
Um, did did you like the interpretation of Dark Side?
I at first I was kind of taken back because of the chiseled look. I was like, oh geez, I hope we because it reminded me of your boy from Flash Gordon. What's the guy's
Oh, that
name?
was so Desard looked. I felt like was like
Yes, I
Titus.
did. In my review that I wrote earlier for Fandom Spotlight, one of
Yeah,
my other jobs, I put what's the character's name?
Clytus.
Critus. I said he
Clytus.
looked like he was the
Clytus.
guy from the Flash Gordon movie who was dripping lava out of his face. I'm like, okay,
But that was just like a, obviously a visual, like a hologram, like a, version of.
yeah. No, I get that. But I was like, that's the first thing I thought of. I was like, hey, that's the dude from Flash Gordon.
You know what? I'm, a lot of kids, like my students, go, oh, the bad guy, he's just a Thanos ripoff, and I go,
Well,
no,
that's even no.
he's not.
That's even in the comics. That's even in the
No,
comic
I know,
books.
but I'm going, he's not a Thanos ripoff because Darkseid really, because of Darkseid, there wouldn't be a Thanos, would there?
Yeah. He was basically Jim Starlin's knockoff of.
Thank you. You can say
Well,
it.
I'm not telling it to make you feel good. I know
No,
Jim Starlin, and I've been
I
to
know,
his
but you
house.
gotta
He's been to
stop
my
saying it
show.
with enthusiasm. That's all.
No, and he says it. He admits it. It was like a poor man's version of Dark
Darkseid.
Side.
I know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
I thought he was quite good, and again, the promise of what was to come,
Yeah.
was
Well,
again,
if you ever played the game Injustice, the video game.
I haven't, but I've seen it.
Oh,
Yes.
you should, because a lot of that, I was telling Jerry, I go, a lot of that backstory that's hinted at the end of the movie when they
Mhm.
show the future is right out of the video game, because the Joker, I'm going to spoiler alert, in the game Injustice, even if you don't play the game, you just watch the
The
opening
cutscenes.
cutscenes.
Yep.
Yeah. They tell you what happens. The Joker kills Lois Lane. He nukes Metropolis and Lois Lane's dead, and Superman loses his mind. and basically gets the Joker and punches him. It's in the video. He punches a hole right through and just crushes his heart and kills him. But Superman goes off the deep end, and Superman becomes a bad guy with the black
Yeah.
suit with the white thing like you have on there. So that's right out of the video game. So I kind of knew that because Ordway was talking to me. He's like, "What was that?" Because he works in comics and he didn't know. I go, "Oh, they took that from the
Yeah.
video game where there's alternate future and such." But there's that story. We're never going to see that. Like I said, even if they just did a comic book,
Yes.
get Zack Snyder. Because here's what they did with Richard Donner. I don't think you know this, but Richard Donner had plans for another Superman movie, which was going to have Brainiac in it.
Mhm.
So they got the script, they got Richard Donner, and they had him sit down with a writer and artist over at DC Comics. This came out about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And they did a comic book adaptation of the unfilmed script from Richard Donner. And you got to see what would have happened in a Superman movie with Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder. So why can't you get Zack Snyder to sit down with a Jerry Ordway and say, hey, this is the story I wanted to tell of the dystopian future, the apocalyptic wink wink of the Earth.
Apocalypse. Yeah.
Once he figures out that the anti-life equation, which gives him control of everybody in the entire universe, is based in the Earth. That story, okay, you're not going to do it in the movie. You're not going to make him another Zack Snyder Justice League movie, whatever. Let an artist and writer sit down and make that comic book in a one shot or a mini series, or just to let the fans. They scream to hear the Snyder cut.
Yeah.
Why can't you give them a comic book of what could have been? That's all I'm saying. Or
Well,
an animated movie, a
yeah,
feature.
well, they do. Well, I've got to say that Warner Brothers Animation do a lot of, the DC.
Oh, tons of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so and they could get the actors back to do the voices.
Marvel's doing it with the What If show.
Yep.
They got Chris Evans coming back as Captain America and Haley Atwell's Peggy Carter.
Yeah.
They're not doing, and Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. They're just doing animated voiceover. It's
Yep.
fine. It's
So
not that hard. Yeah.
I suspect that that might happen. We'll get a.
It might. I mean, it's hard. Look, I don't know how the bean counters measure the success of this movie because I told you, how do I know you didn't buy HBO Max because you want to watch King Kong versus Godzilla in a week or so? I don't know what you did. Or what if you cancel your subscription after you watch this because you didn't like the movie?
Yeah.
It's hard to tell what's going on. I do know the Rotten Tomatoes reviews are in, and it's got like a 97%. It's very favorable.
Yep.
As opposed to the Joss Whedon one, which was like a 40% overall. I mean, it was not well received.
And if you just look on social media, what's trending and things like that, it's all.
Well, look at what we're doing here. We're talking about it now. We're not knocking it. I mean, like I said, there's like one or two things I'm like, I would have cut this, I would have tweaked that a little bit, but 95% of the movie I enjoyed and think it was great. There's just a couple little things here and there, but that's just the nature of being a geek.
Yeah,
you're never happy with everything.
No.
Last Jedi.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's in my, it'll be in my top. It's in my top 3 superhero.
But how much rewatchability does it have? Because that's always key to these things.
You've
already watched it twice.
Yeah. And I was looking at things and different things and just listening more, and because the first time you watch it, you know how it is.
You can't take everything in.
Because there's so much in there as well.
Yes,
I mean, I think
it's
layers. I had friends who were going, okay, well, I watched on Thursday night, watched part 1, I watched part 2 the next night, and I think it does have a rewatchability, and I think it really makes you appreciate Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman. To watch those. I think is.
Well, I'm not a Man of Steel fan. I mean, I've told you that before, but
that's okay.
I always like Henry Cavill's performance. I think he was underserved. I think he should have had better scripts because he's a great physically looking Superman. He pulls it off. He's great as Clark Kent and all that, but I just think he could have had a better story. One of the things that I thought of in this movie being 4 hours long, you got to find out everything about all the characters and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Lois has a story that they kind of hinted at. And I want to ask you this because I've asked other people. And again, maybe I have to go put the subtitles on to catch all the dialogue because sometimes you can't hear everything. How much time has passed since the death of Superman to where we picked this story up? Because at one point I thought they said it was a year ago. And
I
Jerry
don't.
Ordway said, no, it was a couple months ago. I go, well, what was it?
It so it's got to be less than a year. It's got to be. I would say it's maybe. I would only say it's maybe 2 months or so. Only
See,
because
Jerry said 3 months. And I say this because,
okay.
look,
Are you saying because of
nothing
because of
happens by accident in these movies. They're too big a movie to accidentally put a prop there and go,
you're
oh,
talking you're
forgot
talking
to.
about the pregnancy test?
Yeah. Oh, I left the pregnancy test in her top drawer, and she walks into the bathroom with it. And then at the end of the movie, when Clark comes back home with his mom, Bruce Wayne shows up and
There's,
says,
oh,
"Oh,
and
and by the way,
congratulations.
congratulations."
Well, he's got super speed and super everything.
No, yeah, maybe some things took a while.
I don't
Kryptonite
know,
underpants.
but that's what I suspect that it's
Yeah, that's what I thought. That she was pregnant,
yeah.
which could have been another movie because we know. Well, again, you
Well,
can't.
but ultimately no.
Superman Returned, or she had
Yes,
a kid in that movie,
yes. So let's
and
just
then
quickly. I don't know. We're
yeah.
probably going way over time
No, I
already.
was gonna say that new TV show, Superman and Lois. He's
Yes,
got twin boys, so there you
yes,
go.
that's
I
true.
mean,
And we see him in the black suit. I'm still catching up on. I
yes,
haven't watched the third or fourth
yeah,
episode yet.
yeah,
But the the sort of the vision of the future, which was alluded to again in Batman versus Superman, where we see the
yep,
dream from the Flash and the nightmare Batman, who I reckon is a really cool look, and sort of like what the
yeah,
hell, it's fantastic. With the dream sequence, but or the future end epilogue, we also
yeah.
see obviously uh
Lex Luthor,
well, yes, we
the
do. But
Deathstroke, yeah,
we see
the
Wonder
Joker,
Woman dead, with the coins on her eyes. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
We
yeah,
see Aquaman dead. We see
yep,
Superman holding the charred corpse of Lois Lane. Lois
yeah,
the key.
yeah.
So that is obviously what happens to
And didn't somebody get
ultimately.
their head cut off too?
Look,
Oh no, Superman throws the Captain Batman's head.
yeah, well, he's got the cowl, but
Yeah, real quick. Yeah,
you find
yeah,
out in what the plan was in Zack Snyder's continuing film was that Batman is dead. Batman gets
yeah,
killed.
yeah.
This, but I thought that that end sequence with the Joker, and say what
Well,
you will about Jared Leto in Suicide
yeah.
Squad. I didn't mind him. Again, it was a different version of it.
It was a
I
different
thought
version of a guy.
I
Yeah.
thought he was terrifying, but he was fantastic as the
Well,
Joker.
you want to hear another behind the secret story that Mr. Ordway told me about?
Yeah, go for it.
It was implied in one of the earlier stories that the Jared Leto Joker was, in fact, Batman's assistant Robin, who turned bad.
Ah,
So much so that when you saw the Batcave in the Batman versus Superman, they pan across some of the trophies he has in the
yeah,
Batcave. There's Robin's like tunic, his
yeah,
armor, and it says the joke's on you
yes,
or
yes,
who's laughing now. What that was going to be, and the reason why that he's much younger than Bruce Wayne, because he's supposed to have been doing this for 20 years, and the
yep,
Joker's supposed to be like maybe late 20s, early 20s,
yep,
and Batman's supposed to be late 40s, is because either he gets just messed up or he has a breakdown. Because they've done this in the comics too, where it was an animated film, Batman Beyond: The Return of the Joker, where you find out the Joker comes back, and you're like, how is this possible? He's dead. It was Robin who basically lost his mind and became the bad guy. And Jared Leto's Joker, that Ordway told me, was supposed to be one of the fallen Robins, one of Batman's assistants, and that's what even made him more darker,
because they
brooding.
obviously refer to Robin, his
They did
parents, and
refer to
Robin.
it. There's a father and son little bit of dialogue
Yes,
between Batman and the Joker at the end of this movie. He's like, lots of people lose who they love. They lose fathers, they lose mothers. And then the Joker, Jared Leto, turns to him and says, and some people shouldn't send children in to do a man's job or something
yeah.
like that. And then it hits a nerve with Batman, Ben Affleck, and he comes up, he's like, I'm gonna effing kill you. And there's a whole thing going on there that you just don't know what exactly. So
No,
it could be another story that we'll never get to see, that indeed was really Robin turned bad as the Joker,
so
which would
it's
be
a bit
cool.
like it's a bit a certain point of view. We take it.
Yeah,
We all assume that he killed Robin, but he actually
you don't
he
know.
was
You
he
don't
was
know.
Robin.
Yeah,
That's cool. And again, I think we did say, just that scene is
yeah,
not only just incredible, but incredible that they didn't film it all. You know, they weren't all there.
Yeah, it was stitched together. It was
I
separate. It was
mean,
like patchwork
I've seen,
Photoshop.
I've seen worse performances when people are, you know, that was pretty amazing.
Oh yeah.
I think there's a lot to look, and I think that's why it there's, you know, multiple viewings, because there's so much going on, things in
There's a
the
lot going
background,
on. Yeah, it'll
just,
definitely
you know,
be one of
little
yeah.
Easter eggs. You see Zack Snyder having a coffee at where Lois Lane gets coffee. There's the
Oh, I didn't catch
yeah,
that.
yeah, you can see him. He's in his waistcoat, you know, and shirt. You can see him there.
Okay.
There's the
Okay.
suicide prevention uh billboard. There's
Yeah, I saw
as
that.
they drive out, you know, to help with suicide awareness, and how to
Yeah.
combat that. There's all these different things. I was looking at the crate box, and it's the number is
Was it the same as the
61982.
Was it Raiders of the Lost Ark
No,
number?
I don't think it was, but it was. I'm thinking, what happened in 1982? Was there something that?
They said that at some point. He said, "Oh, it's box number 66192." I was like, "Oh, that must mean
I know.
something."
I'm sure it does. You know, as you said, there is everything is put in
Well,
there
I thought
for a
the
reason.
woman, the mother of the two kids that Cyborg helped out, they kept showing her name, and I was like, "Is that?" And I looked, I go, "Is that a character that I just don't recall?
Yeah,
Why is this so significant? He's helping this woman out, you know?" But
there
maybe.
is. There's so much in this, and again, I can't
What?
wait till
Wait,
it comes out. You
one other little gripe.
yeah, okay, yeah,
That big Batman troop carrier
yes,
that he couldn't get to fly.
yes,
I mean, Alfred couldn't get it to work, and Batman couldn't get it to work, and Cyborg sits down, and I'll tell you what, I don't like this scene in either movie. I'm sorry, but there's that scene with the Nightcrawler, which is this Batman spider-like tank that's in the sewer. I'm like,
I
first off,
love it.
how
Yeah.
did he know it was going to be built perfectly to fit in that sewer?
How,
And then,
how does Tony Stark know to give Spider-Man just the right equipment to
hey,
climb on the outside of
hey, because Tony Stark's a genius. That's why.
really,
Now
and
listen to
Batman's
me.
anyway.
And Batman, and he gets this thing, and it's kind of clunkily slow. I mean, it's like clunk, clunk, clunk,
Yeah.
clunk. I'm like, can you get something a little faster, like a Batmobile or a rocket? So anyway, he's like, well, and he keeps talking about it like it's a woman. He's like, she wants to fly. She wants to fly.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, Cyborg, you plugged into the other thing in seconds and took control of it and drove it. Can't you just fix this? And eventually he does.
Yes.
Yeah, but he just like and all I kept thinking is how the Bat copter blew up, or the Bat plane blew up at the end of Dark Knight
Oh yes.
Rises, and it's like the autopilot. I wish I could have fixed the autopilot. It says it's been fixed here already. Who fixed it? Well, the patch says Bruce Wayne. He fixed it 6 months ago. You know, that whole thing. I'm like, okay, I get it. The Bat thing doesn't work, and Cyborg's there. He can fix it in a second. What's the problem? Okay.
Oh, I
Little
like that
gripe,
segment.
I'm like,
That's all right.
don't
If
tell
that's
me you can't fix it, you
no,
know?
and if that's a little gripe in a 4 hour plus
It's
movie,
exactly,
that's pretty
yeah.
good.
Imagine if it was the other way around and we only had one good thing to say
I
about
know.
it for
I
this.
know.
This could have gone. Let me tell you, going into this, someone said, you know, it was a bad movie for 2 hours. Why would you subject yourself to a 4 hour version? And I was worried that it was going to be like root canal. What's worse than root canal? Two root
True.
canals. And this could have been two root canals back to
Yeah.
back, you know. But it wasn't. It was a great movie.
I
It was
love
fun.
it. I'll give it, you know, if I had
Two
more.
thumbs up.
Yeah,
Yeah, look at that. We
absolutely.
both did it. Yeah. It's got 4 thumbs,
That's right. That's right.
more than Cyborg has.
You look good. I like I liked his performance too. It was, you
Yeah,
know,
I wish they smoothed out his outfit a little bit more like the comics. I'm more of a purist because I'm like,
yeah,
hey, Steppenwolf has a cooler looking outfit than you got. You got all this weird
yeah,
angled stuff, you know,
yeah.
whatever. But hey, we're
I just
nitpicking now. I'm
I know.
nitpicking.
You know what I want to get? I want to get one of those Gotham University Letterman jackets.
I have a Gotham Letterman jacket, but it's not from the. I do. It's upstairs.
Yeah.
I should have worn that for the
Yeah, I
show.
know.
It was from, but it's not from this. It's from the Gotham Bandits, which was the Gotham Rogues, which was the football team at the end of Dark Knight Rises.
Ah,
They
yeah.
actually made official jackets and shirts. Under Armour, which was the logo that
Yeah,
was on
yeah.
the back of his jacket, and I know that because the guy who made Under Armour is the
Lives in
benefactor.
Connecticut.
My son, no, he's my son goes to the University of Maryland, and so did that guy. So all their clothing for the sports teams are all Under Armour. So I knew the logo, but they came out with the Gotham City Rogues T-shirts and jackets and baseball caps when that movie came out, and I managed to get the varsity jacket, which has the Gotham City logo on it and the yellow sleeves and the black things. But
Mhm.
that was from the university, Gotham City University, GCU.
Yeah,
But they never made that. But it was cool though. I'm like, damn, that's a good marketing tie-in, you know?
it is. I know that I'm going to have to dig out some, go on eBay and look for some more Justice League toys because they were all on. I think at our big W they still had um,
Oh,
a wall of parademons. You
I
know,
bet they had the Batman, because all I said that Batman Nightcrawler was toyetic. That thing
yeah,
was basically there to sell toys.
they
That
never made one.
wrap thing. I thought they did because I'm like, that looks like a toy. That looks
They've
like
got
something that's a wind up, you know.
I'm sure they're making it now, but I think I'm going to have to get a few
Well, they
more.
made the Batmobile. They made
Yeah.
a remote control Batmobile. We don't talk about the Batmobile in this house. Brings back bad memories here of somebody who threw away a bat tumbler.
Oh,
Yeah, she's upstairs right now. But anyway, I digress. I
that's
digress.
okay. Well, I think I'm going to go on. I've got to get myself a Ben. I've got the Ben Affleck costume, a really bad Ruby's costume of.
You do.
I
I had to
do.
ship it to you. I know
So,
that.
but I'll have to join my Henry Cavill. I probably need
Well,
a.
I'm glad I have the Hallmark Superman ornament where he's in the black outfit with the white thing because they made it as a con special, but he
Yeah,
never wore it in the movies because they cut those scenes. And I was like, oh, now it makes sense. I
yeah.
can hang it on the tree because that's what he wears. Not only did he wear it in the fight, he wore it after the fight was over when he did the reveal
Yes.
running to the street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's cool. So I think if you're on the fence, hopefully we've convinced you to watch it. There are worse ways to spend 4 hours for sure, but I think you'll be really I think you'll be engaged. I think you'll be surprised and invested in what's
Yeah.
going on, and that 4 hours will certainly
Do you think it's going to come out with more extended footage when it gets released on
the
Blu-ray?
director's cut. I
I
don't
was thinking
know.
of like, what else is left? Oh, we
I
got the
don't know.
kitchen
Well,
sink
I
here.
hope so. I mean, I'll lap all that up. So we've got the 4K release to look forward to. It's on HBO Max in the United States. In Australia, it's on Binge or
Yep.
Foxtel. And check your local listings wherever it is. But I loved it. Can't wait to see what happens next. And I'm really excited for the next Flash movie. We've got
Oh, Zack Snyder's got a zombie movie in 2 months
that's right.
on
And
Netflix here.
actually, the
Army of the Dead or
can't
something.
yeah, I can't remember the was it Hippolyta's like her second, who was grabbing her the horse
Oh,
and
she
got
got
crushed.
killed.
She's
Yeah.
she's in that. So yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. And
Yeah.
then the
So
next DC movie we have is Suicide Squad by my buddy James Gunn,
yep,
who comes out in August 5th here. It's going to be on HBO Max and it's released in the States
yep. And they've just started
in the theaters.
filming Black Adam, I think, as well. And
Black Adam's underway. Yeah,
yep,
there's a
and
bunch of new
Shazam
stuff that's
2.
coming out. Yeah.
So there's lots.
Shazam 2 is in the works as
Yep.
well. Captain
Yep.
Marvel 2. Yeah.
So
Or Shazam 2.
yeah, Shazam 2.
And the Flash movie
Yes.
comes out in I think November 2022 next year.
Yeah.
And the
that-
Batman movie comes out, the new one with
yes. Robert
Robert
Pattinson.
Pattinson next May. Yep.
Yep. So if
So
you're a DC fan, lots to look forward to, and of course they've just we've got Superman and Lois. You've got
oh, the CW's got
Flash,
tons of stuff. Yeah.
Legends of Tomorrow, which is my favorite. Supergirl, the
Black
final
Lightning.
season.
Yeah, there's a
Yep.
lot of DC stuff out there, a lot of it.
Yep.
And they just put the old DC animated Superman cartoon on HBO Max here in
Oh,
the
cool.
States yesterday. Yeah. So
So
that's
lots to look forward to. What's your favorite moment? If you've got a favorite moment, did you like it? Did you not like it? Let us know in the comments below. Or don't forget, how can you subscribe one more time?
you just hit the little subscribe button down there and you will be notified next time Ed and I go on an excellent adventure. And if you don't even want to subscribe, do me a favor, hit the like button because it helps us get more viewers and
Yeah.
pop up in search engines and all that fun stuff.
That would be great. We're back next episode looking, I think, probably something a little bit more 70s. What will that be? You will just have to find out. But signing off, this is Ed Dollister.
And this is Mitch Halleck.
And thanks so much for watching. Take care.
Bye.